So welcome everybody to another Teach.Trade training. So the purpose of these trainings is to give free resources, free walkthroughs into all of the things that you want to know to get your investing journey started, to get your trading journey started, and to overall share the knowledge that we have so that we build a community of doers and dreamers and learning through these pathways as we journey into the market. Okay. So we're very glad to have you. Again, my name is Taylor Hamilton, also known to most of you as Kia Keeley, and very glad to be here to introduce this topic. Okay. So I just want to warmly welcome you all. We're going to go through some of the objectives today, and we're going to talk about how walking through and going and establishing a trading regimen can empower you with a structured approach to trading. Okay, so as we walk through this presentation, we absolutely would love for your participation, as well as if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat, and we're going to have our Q&A session towards the end as well. Okay, so first we're just introducing the topic. Next, we're going to talk about how to prepare your trading day. What are some steps that you want to take while you are preparing your trading day? What regimens you want to take while you are conducting your research, how to go about finding stocks to trade, as well as, again, doing some Q&A and providing some resources of utilizing tools that can be helpful in this setting. Okay. So first, the objectives here, number one, to improve organization and intentionality in our day-to-day regimen. You want to be an organized investor and trader because every single day in the market is going to be different, right? You do not want to start every trading day just anew and not having any sort of plan. Because with those many things that are happening, especially towards market open, what is your next decision? If you are not prepared for when the opportunities come, you will not even know how to take said opportunities. Okay. How many people here in chat have felt as though that their consistency is off, that they feel as though they're looking in multiple directions? Plus, press 1 if you've felt that. If you feels like you're all over the place, not really having any guidance. Okay. So we want to walk through this to incentivize practicing behaviors and characteristics of a successful trader. What is a successful trader, right? A successful trader is disciplined. Okay. It's practicing the qualities of doing what you're supposed to do, right? Write that in chat. Do what you're supposed to do. A great trader is adaptable. As we said, with many moving parts and as the market is constantly changing, you have to see ways to change within yourself, right? You need to, if something's going wrong, you have to be committed to going towards identifying where it is going wrong. How can I change this behavior, and not really think about what am I doing wrong, more so what can I do better, what is most suitable for this current environment and setting that I am engaging in. And the greatest traders, even so, you can be the best, most technical, most knowledgeable trader in the world, but if you are not risk managed, if you are not setting a full-scale plan to really mitigate how much risk you are putting into the market, how much focus, if your focus is all over, if your money is all over, if you're putting too much money, this is something that is very suitable when you are establishing your trading regimen and later your trading plan. Okay. So in any given trading day, you want to set your goals, set your daily goals for every single trading day. What will that look like? Number one, you want to identify what's your focus group of the stocks that you are watching. And we'll get exactly to that uh, later here in the presentation of what stock, how do I go about which stocks I want to watch for the current day, as well as why. What are even the reasons here? Okay. You want to also remind yourself of why you are even here trading. What is your purpose? So for a quick moment, for the next, few minutes, I want to incentivize you to just think about what your long-term goals are. Personally, for me, why I'm trading is because I saw the opportunity from when I first took a trade in 2020 that this was going to be the opportunity where I can be able to make money to invest into my own community, as well as to help pay off my student loans, help pay off my mother's debt, and that this was going to create that change that I had always believed in and worked towards, but now I had a tool that can actually accomplish that. So think about what some of your long-term goals are, and you want to write those down and look them over every single morning before the market opens. Okay. So there's going to be the short-term goals that you are setting in terms of what stocks you're looking at for the day, setting a possible profit goal that you have in mind, as well as what's keeping you here and what is keeping you determined to even learn and maneuver through these spaces. You want to be time managed. Okay. So number one, I incentivize everybody that if you don't already do this already, if you are trading at market open, and one thing I'm going to say as well in time management is that you want to be aware of what trading time is most suitable to your needs, right? Not everybody here in chat is actually available at the time of New York market open. A lot of us have work. A lot of us have 9 to 5. Right? Some people are available for market open, but they may not be able to stay the entire trading day. Some people are maybe only available for the second half of the trading day, maybe the last 2 hours or last hour. Well, you're still able to make opportunities happen in all of those times, but you want to establish what is the most comfortable trading time for me. That comes with practice, okay? But if I do sort of step back to, if you are there for market open, you want to be up and going at some of your prepping for at least 30 minutes. Okay. So I advocate for at least 1 hour before market open. You want to be up, you want to be thinking and, wiring your brain to start looking at all of the early morning news releases. That can also prepare you for what's happening on the charts. So if you have stocks that you are considering, you want to be looking at what their pre-market moves may be doing. What are some of the setups on the charts? Some of this can be done the night before, but a lot of times there's some breaking news that happens right before the market opens, right? And that's only available on the day of trading. A lot of times you can pre-prepare your charts the night before, but the day of, there might be more stuff there. So, and again, risk management is here as well. You just want to make sure that every single day that you are identifying exactly how you are protecting yourself. So that is what stop loss am I setting? How much money am I putting into each given trade, right? Position sizing is very important. And you'll see later, we'll get into that a bit more. Okay. But you are framing your day such that before market open, you are setting your goals, you are reading through news, you are looking at charts. And then you are pre-preparing what certain ideas you might have for the trading day, writing them down, and so that when the market opens and so much stuff happens, because we know how crazy it gets in that first 30 minutes, that you already have something in mind for you to react for the market. You wouldn't go into any sort of battle without your shield, without your sword, right? You want to come out swinging and fighting. what we're going to dive in is the regimen that I take. Quite a number of you may be familiar with this already. If you've read my book, The Options Trading Starter Guide. If you've been an alum of the Academy, definitely say a woot woot in chat. If you aren't yet, if you do become a member of the Academy, this textbook is free to you, and it becomes the framework for how we understand and simplify the market. Okay, so this is called the speed method: scouting, position sizing, entry, exit, document. This I live by. Okay, I live by this acronym. This is an acronym I created, but I live by it, that if you do these things on every single day, that you will build a behavior habit, that you are constantly holding yourself accountable and staying organized in your trading day. Okay, what's scouting? Scouting really is that part and portion where we are doing our research and pre-planning. We talked about some of that pre-planning, but with some of the research that you're going into, some of the areas and resources that you're using for your news, the resources enables you to even identify what stocks you're picking for the given day. And to clarify on that, some of us are traders that, look for building watch lists out of a whole range of stocks all in the market. But I do want to also identify and incentivize the other side of preparing, is that you are going to eventually maintain your own watch list, right? You are, what I mean by watch list is that there's going to be stocks that you trade on the regular rather than always trying to look for the hot stock. If we are just trying to go for the hot stock, and the hot stock looks all cute and pretty and buttered up outside at the mall, but you don't know that stock can be crazy. Why are you trying to take this stock home with you, right? Why not go home to what's familiar, what you know, what you've experienced before, what you've developed a relationship with and studied, and providing you the love that you need, right? So we want to treat some of these stocks like that, because it really comes in and makes it easier to do a lot of these methods, especially as it comes forth towards looking into the news and recent news that has come out about whatever stocks that you're familiarized with. There's some of us here in chat who only trade SPY and SPX. There's a lot of us who AMD, people love trading AMD and NVIDIA and whatnot. Personally, I like to have a stock list that is at least one stock in each sector that I'm always watching and that I'm always in the know about, and that it's reliable so that I can keep watch of those charts rather than having my brain and focus in all different type of ways where I'm not able to properly and intelligently identify where the opportunities lie if I'm not already constantly focused on that stock, right? Make sense, everybody? So in scouting, when we are looking at these stocks, you do the research, you do the overall outlook, what the trends are, what our analysts are looking at. Of course, attempting to identify the direction of the price movement, which we have multiple methods of doing so. And we're going to walk through some of them today. So we talked a lot about scouting, position sizing. Sometimes there are often questions: what strike price to pick, what expiration date, how many contracts do I buy? That's certainly a question. A lot of the times my main answer to that is putting the same, in terms of how many contracts, it's just whatever equivalent to how much money you're putting into any given trade, and how much you're managing your risk is basically typically a percentage of your entire portfolio, whether that's 10% or 20%. That's how much that you are likely intentional on putting into every trade. Okay, so if we have $1,000, that means we would be putting $100 or $200 into any given trade at a decent comfortability rate. If you have $100, you would use about $10 to $20 per trade. For anyone who may be still new to trading, you really don't need a lot of money. You can trade as little with $2. You can trade with as little as $5, $10, $20, right? We have tons of cheap tickers that we can trade. I actually posted the list of cheap tickers in the chat channel. And so after we scout, we pre-plan the day. After we position size at the moment that it comes time to take the trade, that's when we go through the process of making an entry, making an exit, whether it's our position went up or our position pulled back. Okay. And then after everything happens, we must document our trades. Okay. It is necessary that in some form or fashion that we are documenting our trades, right? Because you have to be able to review your performance. Okay. You don't even know if you're doing well if you're not constantly thinking about if you're not constantly thinking about what you are doing well and what you can improve and be better with, right? Because you can be making money and you're like, wow, I'm making money, I'm doing this and making these trades. But if you don't know why, how do you know it's not just pure luck of the draw? And what happens in the case where it stops? How are you going to react for when that moment? And it's not as simple as that. You want to be able to pinpoint exactly the reasons for why you are taking certain trades. And with those reasons, when you get the outcomes of them, that you are able to properly identify exactly why this is where the outcome is. So you're able to pinpoint and go back and see, hey, okay, there were these elements that happened when I was taking this trade. Now I'm going to look through these elements and see, I'm going to change it for the next time, just slightly take this element out and see how that goes. And then you'll see where that is. It's like, oh, okay, it seems it's consistent that these three elements or so are what's helping me win. And maybe this one element is the common denominator that is not working out as well for me. So I'm going to keep doing, things that are consistent until maybe I hit a roadblock where I just have to revise again. There is the free stock journal. It's called Stonk Journal with an N. And that is one reliable journal that you can just start your trading journey with, and it's free. You can start with a pen and paper if you want to in a notebook, but if you want something that's online and sort of a bit more streamlined, so that you can enter the information, this is our free resource that we want to share with you all. Okay. Imagine a place where learning about trading feels as engaging as a great conversation. Welcome to the Options Trading Academy, your new home for trading education. Through a series of engaging lessons, live weekly study sessions, and hands-on activities, we will equip you with the essential foundations to make informed trading decisions and achieve profitable results. Starting January 28th, our Beginner Academy will be your new best friend in understanding options fundamentals, reading those tricky charts, and mastering technical analysis and risk management. And for those of you ready to push the boundaries, our Advanced Academy starting March 3rd will be your guide through the world of market secrets, advanced strategies, charting techniques, and AI trading tools. Here, you will learn from the pros, yes, real professionals who can't wait to share their secrets with you. Come join our family of dreamers and doers, and together, we'll turn your trading aspirations into achievements. Teach.Trade's Options Trading Academy, your next big step in trading. So when we are doing our scouting, right, our research falls into these categories, right? There's fundamental analysis, there's technical analysis, and then there's using trading tools and platforms. Fundamental analysis is typically doing the research on the stock that involves like the details of the company, as it relates to its news, how they're performing, their earnings reports, their cash flow, right? So if you take Apple, for example, one of the biggest companies in the world, it has $1 trillion market cap, which means that, through the value of all of their shares and how the company is performing. Like, this is the overall value of the company. And what news comes out about Apple typically every September, October? We get the iPhone, right? We get news about how well the iPhone is selling, how well the iPad, MacBook, and whatnot are selling. Typically, with each earnings report, that's when an influx of all this information every single quarter, when all this comes in. But the sales numbers typically come and go throughout, the year, and a lot of these things are planned and not known about, right? Where technical analysis comes in. Technical analysis is when we are looking at the charts, looking at what opportunities are arising from the charts, and looking for the patterns that lead to winning trades. As we teach in the academy, specifically the beginner academy, we teach a lot about how to read the charts, what each candlestick pattern looks like, your regular everyday setups such as the double bottoms and double tops, wedges and whatnot, and how you can take advantage of these chart setups and combine it with the news that comes out of a company, and how that leads to successful outcomes. Within both of those, we use trading tools to accomplish this research and our preparedness for stock. Personally, we all, or most of us, use the Trading View as our application. It's a free software that enables you to just watch tickers, and it also has news components built within it. And so we're going to walk through a lot of the places where to get your news and how to go about picking stocks. And, so within TradingView itself, we have developed tools within TradingView to help with narrowing down a watch list of trade setups and ideas. For those who are unaware, that is the AutoStratic AI tool that we provide. And so there's lots of different indicators, more like volume, RSI, MACD, and a lot of these things are tools that people use for pre-playing their trading day, right? So on any given trading day, you want to look at those metrics on your tools and see, for the plan that you have created, see if they align with if they're checking the boxes necessary for those that you're looking for. So this slide here is important, right? So what is it in a stock that is important to look into, right, when you're reading the news? Because it's not just the news, right? When we're looking at stocks, like, okay, what's even like relevant for a stock, right? Within the stock, before every trading day, I am looking at the recent news or company developments, right? That's if there's a new product announcement, if we're still using the Apple. Like if Apple announces a new product or a new service, that's a recent news, and whatever impactful, if it sounds impactful to them making more or less money, that's going to capture my eye, right? If Tesla says they sold less cars this quarter than they did the last, then that's making me think, they're not performing as well. And if a stock isn't performing as well, investor sentiment is going to believe that the stock may be able to fall, and that's going to consequently put yourself in the mindset for maybe trading something like puts in the options, right? Every morning I am looking at the analyst ratings, the upgrades and downgrades. These are saying things like from the analyst firms and hedge funds, like the banks, or just overall research firms, to look at these stocks. They are often watching these stocks because they're making their investments as well. And so they're giving their professional opinion on if they feel a stock is a buy or a sell. And they'll typically give a price upon which they anticipate the stock to get to. Why is this important? So if I'm preparing my trading day and I'm looking at the news, if I come across a stock that I'm familiar with, like Microsoft, and these companies are upgrading Microsoft. And they're saying that, and they're stating a stock price that is currently above the current trading price of the stock, then that's going to give me more information and incentive towards thinking, hey, Microsoft, a lot of these analyst firms are feeling pretty bullish. Then that means that they're looking to buy more stocks. And so if they're saying Microsoft is currently priced at $380, if they're saying they believe it can get to $400, $410, those actually may be the strike prices that I'm looking to buy, right? Because as the question on the previous slide said, hey, I don't always know what strike price to pick. How do I know? Well, following these analyst firms, or at least listening to some of their professional opinion, can often help with those choices of in that same trading day that they are making the announcement, right? So, and also you want to be looking at the sector and industry trends. Okay, so often there's what you I'm being inviting of both the newcomers as well as the advanced traders in here. But I want to say about you may hear about rotation, right? And sector rotation. So there are, because of how the market works and where money's flowing into different areas, different stocks, there's going to be trends where some categories and areas are more prominent and prioritized than others. Right now, that what we're seeing in the market lately is that technology has been the hot sector, the priority. And most of the time, technology is that, right? Because it's typically innovative, they're building new things, and that can lead to more money and profits, as lots of the biggest companies in the world are tech companies. But at other times, the focus may be the oil sectors, right? And so in the oil sector, those companies may be where that's more of a safety stock, or when world events are happening, that this is where money is flowing in. Oil prices go up, our gas prices go up, and we're upset because we're paying so much for gas to drive to the store. But and within, sometimes with all this research, as I finish off on this slide, a lot of this stuff is something we pick up when reading through our websites or apps, but it can happen that you see it in the world around you as well, right? If you see certain prices going up in some places, you see areas where it's not as much traffic being driven towards certain companies. Those are some of the things that help you identify some of those trends in the market. So I'm going to, on this slide, I'm going to leave it up here, but I'm going to then now go into a bit of a demo where this stuff is, right? So for recent news about company developments, we can use Walter Bloomberg here. And so what is Walter Bloomberg? Walter Bloomberg is a Twitter account, as well as he owns a Discord, and he posts a lot of the recent news from a Bloomberg terminal, which is where breaking news happens. With Walter Bloomberg, before the market opens, I am looking through his Twitter every single day. Okay. What's very nice is that it just pre-prepares you for the market from about 8 a.m. or I'll say from as early as 6 a.m. EST all the way to market open at 9:30 a.m. EST. I tend to like to check his account around 8 a.m., which is about an hour and a half before market open, just to see what news for the relevant tickers has come out. So you see this morning, there was some news on Tesla about the staff is getting a pay raise. There was some news about the car company Lucid. They delivered more cars than expected. That may be a positive note for the company. So what do I do? Well, what do I do? I go ahead and if it's a company I recognize, I write down the relevant news that, hey, Lucid had some good sales numbers. Look at the chart. And then that would direct me towards going to the chart here. Maybe if I pull up Lucid and see what happened there. And so what's very interesting in that regard, even though they beat their sales numbers as we're doing this demonstration, seems like there's nothing here to save this company. So maybe quite an interesting example there. But regardless of what maybe I want to point out from this example when I just saw Lucid's sales numbers is that if I'm looking at those sales numbers, I'm like, that looks like positive news. That's going to direct me to look at the chart, right? The moment I come to the chart, I don't really see much happening that's positive, right? Because as we can clearly see, if you even can't read a chart, you can tell that, hey, there's a lot of red here. And red typically means no bueno, right? So in this case, there's no setup personally for what I would want to see. And interestingly enough, our tool says there's no setup detected, right? So I see the news, I go to the chart to see the setup. If it doesn't align, it doesn't fit where I may, it doesn't, if the news and the chart doesn't align, then that's not a trade that I'm looking to consider. Does that make sense, family? So if it comes towards a stock that a couple of days ago, like Microsoft, where if they get some more news that, hey, they're developing more AI products for enterprise, that's going to lead them to more money. So if I see this chart and I see that, Microsoft's been going up, they have green momentum, that's going to align at least that there's something there to be considered, right? And then you might just give it a closer look. Okay. So back to just maybe very quickly with Walter here, is that a lot of those points that were on that slide, you can actually get from Walter Bloomberg's Twitter. Sometimes it's a slightly inconsistent though, just because Walter Bloomberg is a person. But what I did want to point out is that what's very great about his Twitter is that he gives you the stocks that are gapping up, which means that they are moving highly in the pre-market before the market is opened. And he'll give you a full rundown of the stocks that are running in the pre-market just to give you some more context. And he'll also give the news for why it's doing that, right? So what I like to do is I tend to go through this list and look at the stocks that I recognize and then just jot some notes down that, here on the left, I see this stock, Oxy, that we trade often, and that's an oil stock. And it said Warren Buffett increased their stake in the company. People give Warren Buffett a lot of priority to his thoughts and opinions on the stocks, right? So I'm going to say Warren Buffett increased their stake, right? So again, that is going to be something for a company that I'm going to check out their chart and see if there's a chart setup that aligns in my regular trading regimen, right? I see CRM here, AAL, that's American Airlines, right? So those are some of the things at least you can get from, you can see the stocks that are moving up very highly in the pre-market, And you can also get the stocks, oh, excuse me, you can get the stocks that are moving very much further down in the pre-market and some of the reasons behind them. The analyst ratings, upgrades and downgrades. Here's a very recent website that I just discovered by way of people sharing it with me. Because I was wondering, is there a more simple way to get your news? And so this website, newsfilter.io, gives you a clean and simple summary of all of the most recent news to consider on the current trading day. They have the highlights about what are the main things happening, a list of highlights. They have briefs, which are the articles written about, recent articles written about stocks and some of the top ones. So like we have one about, we saw that same news on Walter's thing about Tesla doing the pay increases. I believe Tesla actually fell today, and it's possible in due to some of that news, because if they have to pay more to workers, which is typically a positive thing, that does mean less cash on board for the company, which may drop its stock, So when you're able to draw those parallels, it takes practice when you're identifying these things. We have the Boeing. So someone in chat brought it up. Thank you to the person in chat who brought it up. Boeing was a great example of seeing news before the market opened and how that impacts the stock, and then seeing if there's a setup that aligns there for you to make an ample trade. So after Boeing had their crazy news of door flying off of a plane, what did their stock do? Collapse. And what did people do the day that the market opened? They played puts, because if this is bad news and the stock's falling and this kind of aligns with what maybe I was already anticipating from Boeing, this is at least falling into my trading plan of this is hitting my watch list. I'm a bit familiar with this stock and this company because I saw it with my very own eyes. That door was open and this is scary. So I'm going to play some puts, right? And there's obviously more that can go into trading, but this is, again, we're focusing on the actual regimen of picking the tickers that we're considering, right? There's recent press releases. There's even links to the Wall Street Journal and Bloomberg. We have filings for new IPOs of recent companies. I don't take a look at this that often, but this may be something that you might see some company that you recognize there. FDA approvals. This is very useful. Very useful if you follow biotech companies, right? The companies are making biotech and pharmaceuticals that make the medicines or new technology for our own well-being and whatnot, like COVID stocks or fat loss drugs and Alzheimer's research and whatnot. So you're able to actually follow very simply like what those companies are, and they even have a trending stocks section. I kind of introduced this topic not really to just follow the trending stocks, but some of us are those all over the place traders where we use there's people who use let me just take a pause for a moment. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to make them. But I'm just in my excited mode. I'm very excited to teach and share this information, but I do want to make sure just to now give the focus here about something I'm going to point out. There are traders who their strength is more focused in the fundamental analysis part, right? Where you're able to identify and connect the dots between how a company is performing, what recent news came out, and how that relates to the stock itself. And then that becomes your strength in making your trading and investing decisions, right? And I would say a fundamental analysis focused person certainly has their hand of stocks that they watch more often than others because they're more comfortable with learning and understanding the main developments of the stock, right, or company. Where there are others who are very much technical analysis focused. I believe myself to be strongly while I very much value both, I certainly feel as though technical analysis is what drives my trading decisions more, where I'm very much focused on the charts. I'm focused on and I use that strength to navigate through what looks best, right? And so if I'm focused on specifically setups, then that can lead to navigating through different tickers to look for the specific setup that I'm looking for, right? With fundamental analysis, there might be news and specific news and cycles and whatnot that people are looking for, that they are waiting for that opportunity to come. Then the technical analysis ones are very much focused on the setup to come. Does that distinction make sense, everyone? How I sort of formed that? And how those different types have those different approaches towards pre-planning their day? Because I wanted to identify the distinction, but also to marry the two, definitely, because we can use both in tandem to come towards their trading decisions, right? Because I feel as though the best trades that I've made have certainly come from the combination, but I know my regular trading cycle very much focuses a bit more on the technical side than on some of the fundamentals. Right. So this website's pretty great for that, you know. Do you, after sort of looking through this and seeing how simple it is, I actually didn't even come to this part, right? The analyst ratings. This is the main highlight I even wanted to make for this website, is that it has its own section for the analyst ratings, what the experts and professionals are looking at the stock and saying where they feel the stock can go and get to. How do we utilize this in our trading regimen? Well, if we have the 5 to 10 stocks that we watch regularly, we would typically go through this list and see what some of the most recent upgrades or downgrades are that are relevant to one of those stocks that we pick, right? It typically won't be as long as this, I'd say, because this is certainly a bit overwhelming. But this is one resource for doing that. So if it's like, if I'm someone who trades Amazon all the time and I've been following Amazon, I think they're going to take over the world. They have their hand in everything. Let me see what the analysts are looking at and seeing. So then it says, okay, there's a recent upgrade for the Amazon stock. That may be relevant. And it says 4 hours ago that may be relevant going into the next trading day, right? And it's like when we're doing this stuff pre the market, it's like we're Thanos in a way. We're not evil, but we're Thanos because we're collecting the Infinity Stones. That is we're collecting the Infinity Stones. It's going to go into our gauntlet, which is our preparation and our efficiency, that when opportunity arises during the trading day, all we have to do is snap to change the nature of our existence, of what goal or opportunity we're looking for, right? Because we already came in with all of the tools, the checks and balances needed to really nail it when it comes down to it, right? So that's why when I keep bringing this notepad up on the screen, it's like there might be something about like a stock like Amazon that maybe I see multiple things, like the news is right. So I say check. I say the chart, check. Analysts, check. Maybe I'll just say news, none, because I haven't heard any recent news about Amazon. But we're getting more checks, right? How many infinity stones is necessary for us to finally feel confident on that trading decision, right? And this is a very strong resource for doing so. There's another website I wanted to share. Um, so here's, this one is actually not the Benzinga, but I use Benzinga. If you've ever watched me on Twitch, and you've heard Charlie from Benzinga, he's the one who announces the breaking news every single trading day. So check out this website if you haven't seen it before or gotten familiar. This is how you're able to identify sector performance. Okay. This website gives you, and it's also an app, by the way. This website gives you the rundown of just how the sectors are performing. And so this is relevant, again, that if you have a set amount of tickers, that you're able to just see if your ticker falls into one of these sectors, how is that going to affect the performance or priority of said ticker. If we go back to Apple, right, or Microsoft, if I'm looking at Microsoft and I'm looking at some checks, maybe with Microsoft, they had news, check. Microsoft had chart, check. Then I'd say the sector, check. You know, I'll sort of, if you did trade today, you kind of see we went both ways, but the performance of the week has very much been highly focused on technology. And even today, after a red day across the entire market, technology still edged out to being the strongest sector. And that just shows you that, you know, so that's giving you more approach and confidence into, you know, where your focus is and what the trades that you are identifying. All right. So maybe a different day I'll cover Benzinga. Most of the time it's a paid service, but they do have a free blog of news resources. But I definitely just want to move forward, just to make sure. One more thing that is important though in the research, the economic events, an economic calendar. The economic calendar is a calendar of pre-planned events that we acknowledge and are aware of. At certain times of the day, reports of news happen. When those reports drop, it affects the market. And so having pre-knowledge of when these things are happening is very essential so that you are not caught off guard for when they happen. So in this trading week, we had news at certain times. We had speakers in the Federal Reserve. Their comments can sometimes affect the market, whether they are comments related to the interest rate decisions or related to inflation. So when the times that they speak, that can actually, what they say can actually affect how, you know, the stocks move. For example, today was the inflation numbers that happened in the pre-market. And so those inflation numbers are important because it affects the Federal Reserve's decision for the interest rate. Inflation came in higher than expected today. How is that going to affect those interest rates? Maybe they still have to increase them after they said they were going to decrease them previously. They might have to increase them again. And that would lead to what? Less money for companies, more money for us to pay on some of the things that involve with our interest rates. And that may essentially drop the market or so, if it comes down to that. And so those are some of the things how we think through some of the economic things. Some people do prefer the website Forex Factory over Market Watch. I can co-sign that. Forex Factory, I do wish they like updated the look of the website because it's still This looks like 2009, man. But it sometimes tends to have relevant. I don't want to say sometimes. It has all of the relevant data that you may want, right? The Market Watch is more US focused, so that's kind of just a bit more, consolidated. But Forex Factory has everything, so that you don't miss a thing. I can also do a summary of what we just covered here today. So what will go into the demo, I will also utilize autostratic in the range rush reversal and see how that can factor into our stuff today. So from A to Z, let's see what a trading day looks like. So from the moment I wake up, I go to Walter Bloomberg. I check the Twitter to see what recent news has happened. Okay. So some of the recent news that happened today was some of the stocks that are gapping up that we're able to see. Seeing what some of these tickers are, we see Oxy, we see Neo, we see ChargePoint. And these are some of the things with positive news. If there is a stock that I recognize here, I'm jotting it down on my watch list just to say that, hey, these are companies that have positive news or they're up pre-market, and or if they're down pre-market on this side as well. Okay. So what else news that happened this morning was Bitcoin crossed above 47,000. In Teach Trade, we prioritize options, but with our tools, we also incentivize and have resources for crypto, forex, futures, and more, right? A few people in here, or not just few, quite a lot of people in here trade futures, and a lot more of us are trying to learn and get more into crypto, especially as you hear a lot about Bitcoin. Very relevant data today about Bitcoin was the approval of the Bitcoin ETFs. So what is that going to do for me? That is going to say, hey, crypto is a high priority topic, and some of the crypto stocks I'm familiar with, I'm going to note them down that those can be potential watches. So if I write that here, that's Coinbase, that's Bito, which is a stock that follows Bitcoin. And then there's Mara, right? There's more, but I'll just limit them there, right? So the SEC approved those Bitcoin ETFs, right? And so those are some things to watch there. There was some news about Tesla. And, there's that news about Lucid. There's NVIDIA news. AI chips, right? And we can leave it here for now, right? At least the stuff that I'm gaining from Walter Bloomberg's. So if I go to the news highlights, so I come back to over here, Coinbase is being highlighted here again. They said the stock is a bit volatile. They said Google has some AI news. So that's kind of making me think, AI is kind of, at least there's some ideas here. It's a shared topic. So that may affect all of the companies that are relevant to AI. There's some Boeing news saying the CFO, ex-Boeing CFO is retiring from Apple's board. That's pretty important. So I just might jot it down. I'm not sure what it means yet, but I'll just jot it down about Apple. And then there's some other news here. I think there's something about Netflix there. But I think I've gotten at least enough tickers to put on a watch list. And then I'm kind of just seeing what other news there that might be relevant that I just want to be aware of for the overall market. Make sense, everybody? After that, I'm just doing a brief overview of the sector performance. You know, it doesn't seem like there was too much happening today. It's typically this is typically used for the day prior, right? That it's typically before market open, you're seeing what happened the day prior, and that may lead you to just go look at the sector overall. What I do personally on my chart is I have a whole tab on TradingView dedicated towards having a multi-chart look at what all of these sectors are doing. Okay, so typically in the pre-market, I'm seeing where each of these are opening. Maybe I can go to the hour time frame. That would be a bit helpful here. In the pre-market, I'm just seeing like if they're opening at certain levels, seeing which ones have setups, and it'll give me more information overall about what the stocks are doing, right? In each sector. So if we're planning for tomorrow, by the way, if we were to plan for tomorrow, I actually see this. I see a trade idea here on XLF on our autostratic tool that we haven't fully covered yet, that there's a trade idea potentially to the upside for calls that the AI has determined. So I may then go to my handy dandy notepad and say XLF bullish autostratic setup. Possible calls over 37.81. What else do I see? There's a trade idea there on XLE. So energy. And then there's also for healthcare and consumer staples. So healthcare may be a priority that I write down. If everything on the chart you don't understand yet, this is your pathway and beginning and intro for going down the rabbit hole and journey that we have prepared for you for making accessible and very cool tools. Okay. Other things that we like to look at on the charts is time frame continuity. If you've attended the previous training sessions, we've talked about time frame continuity, and that helps with identifying the momentum on a stock. So that's how many time frames are green or red, how many time frames have broken the previous high or previous low, or neither. So the more time frames that have broken upwards and are green, the more bullish. And so we've been looking at a little bit at consumer staples stocks like Walmart, Target, and Coca-Cola, and they've been going up, given that their sectors more so highly bullish at this moment. And the same is said about healthcare, that this is majority bullish. And I've been trading healthcare from the very first trading day of the year that I've been trading healthcare, and we've been non-stop up for the most part. We've had a little bit of some shakiness, but for this, healthcare has been quite the priority. So if I see the healthcare sector is up and it's trending up, I may either trade the sector itself, or I may look for tickers inside of the sector and trade those and see if there's relevant news there. Okay, because I see a trade setup that has been prepared here. Understood? Um, then further into the um, regimen, I'm just very quickly looking at the trading day ahead about if there's any news I need to be aware of. So it's like if we're then thinking about maybe trades for Friday tomorrow, I see that there's news 8:30 a.m. for the producer inflation. So at 8:30, I want to just see how stocks are reacting after that in the pre-market. This is when the market's closed, but the news itself is still important, and we want to see how stocks are reacting to said news in the pre-market, because that's going to then influence how they open. So there is a Fed speaker at 10 a.m. EST tomorrow. At times, I like to set an alarm on my phone just as a reminder to say, hey, like, this event is going to happen and the market may be affected by that, you know. I don't think whatever the Fed president's going to say tomorrow is going to be that serious. Just saying personal opinion, but this is all, you know, us doing like a demo session, right? But there's going to be other ideas and not ideas, other events that may be relevant towards what you're looking at, right? And what you want to prepare yourself for when the trading day actually happens. So, you know, through there, that just took me about 10 minutes to at least walk through these main things. And this is 10 minutes out of 1 hour that you're typically giving yourself pre the market, right? We haven't even touched like just going through each individual chart or so. But you see that in just 10 minutes, we already informed ourselves enough about giving an outlook for the general trading day, right? Everyone's sort of starting to see like at least how you may go through at least this initial process. So then, yeah, definitely note that for me here in the chat. And then in the next 10 to 15 minutes, I'm going to show you just some of the stuff on the charts that you may be looking out for. Because after you do this pre-research, you're kind of going to the chart and then just confirming with some of the data that you already have. So hopefully what we walk through doesn't seem like too much. I know we have like multiple tabs we walk through, right? But with practice and with consistency, a lot of times some people only use Walter Bloomberg and that's it, right? And that's all they need to know for preparing their day, right? But we kind of walk through the different resources that you can use to get you prepared. But when you do this often, it really happens that this can happen, like the whole thing can happen in just about like 15 to 30 minutes, right? From start of the planning process is just looking through things to end. So one of the other pieces here now is how Teach Trades tools factor into helping you prepare your trading regimen. And I'm going to use the next 10 minutes and then we'll come to a close if everyone's okay. So with Autostratic is an AI generative tool that generates trade ideas for you in real time, right? And it prepares a curated watch list of tickers that have trade setups going into the next trading day. So there's two parts of Autostratic. There's the actual trade ideas that are plotted on the chart, and then there are the radar, which actually finds the tickers. So with the regular radar, we can see a list of tickers. And so because of the CPI day, it's likely that a lot of things got generated today. Typically, this list isn't as long as it is here, but it gives us something to look forward to going into the next trading day. So if I go to a ticker like Meta here, right? On Meta, this is a stock that has been moving pretty well. I'm looking to see what the time frame continuity is, how well it's performing, what's the momentum, and it's currently up on every single thing. But today was a red day. But at the moment, it is a hammer and it's an inside candle, which are both actionable signals. Those are two things on the chart that are telling us there's a possibility to take a trade in the following day. So tomorrow on Friday. So on AutoStratic, this narrowed it down that if I'm watching Meta often and the stock has relevant news, we can also see news here on TradingView, here on the right side, to see if there's news that came out today. And there's actually some positive news that came out saying that Meta Platforms is maintained at a buy by Mizuho. Okay. And the price target is $470. So when there's a trade idea that was found here by AutoStratic, if in the following trade session that Meta crosses above this entry level, that maybe I'm looking for an option that can be something that's far out and something that gives opportunity for profit, such that if there's analyst who's saying all the way up to $470, surely potentially you could pick that strike price. I mean, that's really far out from here, right? But it may get you into the idea process of maybe picking higher strike prices if you are looking for calls, that if it triggers to the upside, that you now are doing your scouting process where you're doing the research from the the speed method. When you're doing the scouting, seeing the research because you found the stock, you found the setup, you see relevant news, that in the P part of the speed method, position sizing, now you are making the decision, pre-planning to say that, hey, I can think about choosing a strike price of something maybe around the $380, $400, and I'm making a decision about how much of my portfolio I'm going to dedicate towards that trade. Typically, we use the same amount of money in each trading session, right? And that'll lead you towards making that decision much faster as you're going through the speed method. So we did the scouting. We would do the position sizing, which would be going through the options chain, seeing what strike price has good volume, is relevant and affordable for us. Then the moment that the market opens tomorrow, if it crosses above and closes above on the 5-minute time frame or so, that we would be entering the trade and planning our exit for how much profit we expect or want to earn from the trade. Maybe that's about 20%, 30%. Sometimes if you want to shoot for the moon, that's 100% or further. And then as you know, we would be in the trade. Once the trade is over, then again, we would document our trade. We would use the resource that we covered today, such as the Stonk journal, to mark when we are entering and exiting the trade and seeing if the process we followed has worked out. And if when it works out, we are able to identify the things we felt as though benefited that trade and worked out for us. And then the things that may have shook us around or affected our trading psychology along the way. We just recently did Twitter Spaces yesterday on trading psychology. So if you want to check that out, certainly hit the replay button on that. But this is how you firmly identify these steps along the way so that you don't feel lost at all. Okay, so we're laying each step of this process out. What I want to do finally, quickly, just we have the Radar Pro as part of the Autostratic Pro, and this is helpful. You see that it looks very much similar to the regular Autostratic. And it's interesting because Spy is actually on here itself. But what you can do in the Radar Pro is that you can actually segment and choose what sector you want to scan through, right? So the Radar, it has over 200 scans of tickers versus the 440 that the regular has. So it's quite a groundbreaking achievement we're able to do there. But what I wanted to say is that crypto was the hot topic of the week and especially of the day here. And we noted that on our tab of notes here in the notepad, right? So I can go and change my scan criteria to crypto. What this is actually going to do, just as a fair warning, this is going to give us trades that are both crypto stocks as well as tokens. So crypto related stocks on the stock market as well as the tokens that are traded around 24/7, right? So you can actually see for the majority here, they were mainly crypto, or this is going into tomorrow, and these are some of the trades that triggered today. But Bitcoin is on here as a trade idea for the next trading day today, right? And there's other crypto pairs here that are relevant, like AVAX, AVE, ADA. But what I wanted to note is that there's one crypto related ticker named CleanSpark that some of you may be familiar with. And so prior to this Bitcoin news, CleanSpark actually triggered a put setup. Let me just change a few things. It actually triggered a put setup the previous day, and it's set for put setup going into today, right? So it triggered one for the previous day, and then it had a second one going into today. And so it was triggering $10 and $9 puts expiring next week, right? During the trading day today, or it could have been yesterday as all this news is coming out, you know, there's one trigger for puts, and then we actually moved up high because of all that anticipation of the Bitcoin ETF. But meanwhile, it still had a put setup during the trading day. As we saw, Bitcoin and Bitcoin related stocks sold off quite a good chunk into today's trading session, right? And that this eventually, after triggering the entry, so let me maybe walk through first as it relates to Bitcoin. You know, a lot of times with news related things, especially news that people have been anticipating for a really long time, people have been anticipating stuff like the Bitcoin ETF for a really long time, right? And so a lot of times the anticipation towards it drives the stock. And so all of the anticipated hype behind it has already happened because it's already anticipated. But when the news comes out, anticipation drops because it's here, and all of the move has already happened. So the moment the news comes out, it's like, well, the news is out. We kind of knew this was coming. It's time to sell because the stock has already gone up so much. So many of us are familiar. That's called the phrase "sell the news." And that's what happened here with Bitcoin. So anybody who was trying to buy the Bitcoin ETF today got rocked, right? As investors sold off after this whole anticipation. And so that was relevant, knowing that, you know, crypto stocks were going to be a priority today. They were certainly a priority. It didn't necessarily mean that they were going to go up just because it came out. And they did for a moment. They went up and you could have taken a short-term trade to the upside. But overall, the point here being that volume and priority was here, driven by the news. Everybody knew about this Bitcoin news, right? So that means the attention is going to be on the Bitcoin stocks. If volume is there and attention is there, that's going to drive price movement. That's good for us. It doesn't have to go in a specific direction to benefit us. We just need to know that attention, priority, and volume is there, and that if there's a setup that's lined up for the news that we already did in our research. Correct, everyone? So when the moment that we have the setup, we have the news, it's all aligned, that when it comes to the actual trigger or the moment to press the buy button on the trade, what have you already done? You collected the infinity stones. You collected the information you needed to know that was relevant to get your attention on the stock, to help you understand the stock, and to drive your confidence up that when the moment to place the trade, all it takes is a snap, right? And so this was an example today from entry. Obviously, in this case, it was a bit of a later entry, but entry nonetheless, that from entry, it had the trade idea put on the chart for you. If I go to the daily time frame, that's what's going to show. I'm just going to stay on the 5-minute time frame. From there, the entry, the actual options trade to take, and that when we hit the profit target, when to take profit, right? And so, and I can also throw in very quickly the range rush reversal indicator, and that could have given us an earlier entry as well, right here. Right, so this is another tool, the free tool that we have, the range rush reversal, for those who are unaware. And the range rush reversal identifies how price moves in the first 30 minutes. And based on price movement in the first 30 minutes, it can give you entry points after, if we cross below or above how price is defined in that early range. So after 10 a.m. EST, 30 minutes after market is opened, we may have opportunity to take trades, and this identifies where to take those trades and how to navigate. So there was one entry that was there. We had the news, we had the setup, all the infinity stones, and there was also one step there with their own individual target points. So I really hope that makes sense, not just to joke around. You know, I really want to walk through all of that and sort of give the steps that I take. That what I just showed to you is really everything I do, you know, in that consolidated fashion.